Okay, are we ready? Got my coffee, got my literally thing of water that's bigger than my brain, my whole head. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Sarah. I've had type 1 diabetes for 20 years. So in other words, I've been around the block a couple times with diabetes. Got tons of stories to show I wish I could show you my stories. Well, I guess I am with this YouTube channel. As I was saying, this YouTube channel is just about my life with diabetes. That's about it. So you guys have actually requested this video a lot from me, so I thought I would finally make it, and that is the difference between the DIY loop that I used to use and the tandem loop that I'm using now. Let me pull it out of my pocket if I can. Woo! I'm wearing a dress that has pockets today, so we love it. I was just about to show you, but it would have been too complicated. I thought I would make kind of a compare and contrast pros and cons list to one, what I remember from the DIY loop, and two, with what I know now from the using tandem for a couple months. So if you remember, I have a couple videos of me using the Riley Link, which was this like little white device. I looked to see if I had it, but I'm pretty sure I lost it in my move, or I did, yeah, it's not with me anymore, which is kind of sad. I love keeping those devices. Basically, the Riley Link was a little device that you used your phone to connect to your Omnipod, and I'm pretty sure it was just with the Omnipod. It might have been with Medtronic, an older pump as well, but I used mine when I was on Omnipod. And basically the DIY loop, what it is you build an app. There's very detailed instructions on the website of how to build it. You build the app, put all the programming in. It's very complicated, but also very easy, I will say that. And then you can like kind of DIY loop on your phone. It'll adjust your basal rates for you and all of that good stuff. So I used that for, I think I used it for more than a year, maybe 2 years. I used it for a decent chunk of time, and now I've obviously been on the tandem since April, and it is August now, so what is that? 4 months? That's pretty good, 4 months. Again, this is gonna be my pros and cons of one, what I remember, and two, what I know now, comparing the two. I tried to make a list and like think through, and I tried to watch through my old videos, which I will link those videos below and also up here if I can, but I think I can only link one video. I'll start with the Riley Link. It was cool, and I'll also, before I start saying anything, this is of no, like, I'm not trying to hate on any groups. I'm not trying to like make anyone upset. This is just my experience with the two. These are just my opinions, basically, is what I'm trying to say through with the Riley Link and the tandem Control I.Q. I first have my Riley Link Pro list, so I'll do that. So I have a Riley Link Pro list, a con list, a tandem pro list, a tandem con list, and then I have a list of things that are basically the same between the two. So my Riley Link Pro list, I have 4 things listed. One is I was able to be tubeless with my Omnipod. 2, it was available before Control I.Q came out, although one is FDA approved, one is not. The Riley Link is not FDA approved, so it's really like a use it as your own discretion. And I will also say, I talked to my doctors before I decided to do this. My endo's back in Pennsylvania, and they were like, we can't, you know, make you not do it, but like we don't really, like, they were like, really like use a lot of caution if that's what you're gonna do. So they were like basically cool with it. It was available before the Control I.Q. I know I just said that. You could build it on your own, which like, this is a pro on my list because it made me feel really cool that I could say I built an app. All the instructions were there. I didn't technically build it from scratch, although I guess I did. Not from like scratch, but I feel cool to say like, yeah, I built an app on my phone. It wasn't an original app, but you know, I built an app. So it was impressive to say, or to do kind of on your own, to say like, yeah, I built this app on my phone that controls my blood sugar. The other cool thing, and this is probably the thing I miss the most, is you could bolus with emojis. I don't think I ended up using that a lot. If I remember correctly, I think, and I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me, I think the types of emojis showed you, I don't think it had like carb counts in, but it showed like fast acting food, slow acting food, and then there was another category that I can't remember, or maybe there wasn't, but it was cool. It was really cute and fun to be able to bolus with emojis. Maybe that'll be a future with tandem, but for right now, it's not. My Riley Link con list was you had to carry around an extra device, so it was kind of 2 things well, it was something to keep track of, which would be the same as having like a PDM with the Omnipod, but you had to keep track of this little device, make sure it was with you at all times. You had to build the app on your own, which that was on my pro list, but it's also my con list because it was definitely like nerve-wracking of like, did I do it right? Did I put all the right stuff in? I don't know. If this goes wrong, like what happens? Not that like anything terrible would happen, but it's a little nerve-wracking to do that. And on that topic, anything that went wrong, I feel was kind of on you. There was like a Facebook support group, which was really nice. But there wasn't like a number that you could call, like a helpline that said like, my loop is acting weird, what do I do? Or can you send a replacement? It was kind of all on you, which that's what you sign up for, you know, when you do it yourself sort of thing. But it was a little nerve-wracking, I won't lie. Sometimes with the Riley Link, when you would go low, it would tell you what it's predicting you to go low to, and it would be like a negative number, which is definitely nerve-wracking when you are looking at like, oh, what's my predicted blood sugar in like an hour, and it would be like -50, and you're like, that's not good. So you kind of learn to like ebb and flow with the information, and so obviously you would see that and it wouldn't actually come to fruition, but it's just a little scary like looking at that being like, oh crap, it says I'm gonna be negative some crazy number. This is something that I ran into. My next point is I had a lot of pod fails. So basically my pod would malfunction, it would beep, it wouldn't stop, I had to take it off, you know, do the whole changing of the pod thing. I probably went through more than I needed to. I don't know how many of those were like just because like I did not have a good experience with the Omnipod. I know I've said that a bunch of times on here, so I don't know if that is more like my own doing, or like were my pod fails caused by the DIY loop? And you know what? I guess we'll never know. I personally had a lot of pod fails with that, which was like kind of annoying. I'd have to bring like extras of extras, and it just was like, ugh. My last thing on the pro list, or I'm sorry, my last thing on the con list was anytime you got a new phone, so like say the new iPhone came out, this only happened to me the one time, is I think I had to like rebuild the app, and I wasn't expecting to have to do that. I don't know why I wasn't expecting to have to do that, because obviously when you like self-build an app, you have to like, you know, I don't know what I'm saying. But basically every time you got a new phone, you have to like redo the app, reboot the app, redo everything. And that got very tiresome. I say tiresome, like I got a bunch of new phones, I didn't, but it just is like a really big deal. I feel like doing it like the one time where I was just like, it's kind of like a hold your breath moment. Like, did this work? Did this not work? So it was a little stressful. That is basically it for my Riley Link pros and cons list. Again, I'm glad I used it. Well, I'll go over all this at the end, but my cliff notes are, I'm glad I used it. It was a great experience. It made me really excited for the tandem because I had that little glimpse of like what it was like to kind of not have to think for a little bit. Obviously, you still have to take insulin. It's the same rules, but anyway, that's my Riley Link pro and con. I'm gonna now move on to tandem. Tandem pro and con list. I'm gonna start with my pros and then move to my con list. My first thing on my tandem pro list is it is FDA approved. That's great. So like, obviously it's like safe to use. Not saying that the Riley Link wasn't quote safe, but this is like approved by the big like, you know, head honchos of whatever, the Food and Drug Administration. So that's my number one thing. That is kind of like a breath of relief where it's like, oh, okay, this is tested. I know I can really rely on it. I feel good about this. So that was great. My next pro on the list is if there is something that's wrong, usually it's like a site error or something, which I really haven't had many site errors. I had the one that it was in my last vlog where like something weird happened, but there's a help number you can call, or if you have questions, there's someone to call and talk to and be like, I don't understand what's going on. Now, this next point, I was debating really putting this on, but basically what I wrote is the technology seems really simple, and I was thinking, should I put this on because maybe the technology with the Control I.Q, with the DIY loop seemed more difficult and confusing because you were like building all of it, but this seems simple. It reads your blood sugar. If you're high, it gives you more. If you're low, it gives you less or suspends you. Kind of just like that's it. So this, I would say the technology seems a little simpler. I'm sure behind the scenes it's not, but off the cuff it seems a little just like simple, which is good. I was trying to remember as hard as I could if there was like an activity mode with the DIY loop, so if there is and I missed it. One of the things that I like about Tandem is there's sleep mode and exercise mode, which changes your targets. If you're in sleep mode, I think your target is like 100, or maybe it's 110 in sleep mode, 140 to 160 in exercise mode, and if it's in like normal mode, I think your range is 120 or something, which I'll get to later because that's also kind of part of my con list. But they have different modes of activity, sleep or exercise, depending on what you're doing in the day, so that's really great and really nice. Going off of what I said earlier, I haven't personally had a ton of pump site issues, definitely not as many compared to how many Omnipod issues I had. So I don't know if that's just me personally, but that's my experience with like the sites, is they've been much easier and less painful to use with Tandem. Also, another pro is the app is really great. That is also a pro. This is on my indifferent list later, but the good thing is that both of these things have apps. I know the Tandems just came out like last month in July of 2022 at this point, but both have apps now. Both you have the ability to bolus from your phone, which is wonderful. That's basically it for my Tandem pro list. Now let's go to the Tandem con list, which I won't lie, it's kind of short because I didn't really think that there were a lot of cons. So let's dive into it. My con list number 1 is there's something attached to you, which is like obviously annoying, but you either have the pump attached to you or you have to keep track of the Riley link. So like, you know, in my brain it's the same principle of like, you got to keep track of something. One is attached to you and can't really get away. The other, you have to like make sure you can find it at all times. The other thing, and this is what I was just saying a couple minutes ago or seconds ago when I'm editing this, is you can't pick your target numbers. I'm pretty sure with the Riley link, you could pick where you want it to be. The Tandem, it's preset, which I think I said it's like 140 to 160 for exercise mode, 100 for sleep, and like 110 to 120 for like no mode, just regular mode, I guess. I could be totally wrong on those values, so like, again, if I'm incorrect, I'm sorry. The pre-targeted numbers are chosen for you, which is kind of annoying. But, I mean, they're not... If I were to pick my own, I would pick like the same number, so to me, it's not a big deal. I will say, I got much better at pre-bolusing on the pump, so that's kind of nice. All right, that was it for my Tandem con list. I'm gonna go through my list of things that are like, seem to just be the same. It's really like a preference then of which system you like better. So first on my list is one that I was just talking about, is you basically, either one you have to keep track of. The pump is attached to you, the Riley link, you just have to make sure it's with you at all times, which that can get kind of annoying because the Riley link can walk away from you. I swear sometimes mine would grow legs and go somewhere else and I'd be like, I literally don't know where it is. I do think I put a tile tracker on it, and obviously you could put an air tag or a tile tracker on them. You just always had to make sure you had it with you, and if you didn't, it was a big pain where the pump is kind of always attached to you. But my point is, both things you have to like have something with you. Another one that I kind of mentioned before was that the Tandem seems simpler, but I think that might have just been because like we didn't have to do any of the building or anything. So I would say they're both simple systems in the end. Is like they both control your blood sugars, they both do the same thing. One's FDA approved, one's not. One was available longer, one is newer, but both do the same thing in the end. This is like, I should have really skimmed over my notes before I did this, but I just wrote it down and kind of I was trying to let the conversation flow out of me. But the other thing I wrote was, they're both different and they're both the same. As I was just saying, in the end, they both do the same thing, but also in the end, they both have their like differences a little bit, which hopefully I've listed out nicely in this video. Moving on to my next point. The apps are both great. They both functioned really well. My app for my DIY loop never really crashed that I can remember. There was one time where there was like a bug in it, and somehow, I think either a bunch of people had it and it like kind of made it crash for a little bit or something else. But I feel like with Tandem, I don't have to worry about that, so that's great, because again, that's all on them, it's not on me. My other thing that was on my list that is the same with both of them is both things need to be charged. So the pump you have to charge at night. Well, I charge mine every night before I go to bed, just to 100. And the Riley link, you also had to charge it every night. I think they both hold the charge for a pretty good amount of time. Both you have to charge. Both of them you also have to trust your CGM with. So it's not like one, I think they both use Dexcom. I don't think, although I know Libre has their new system out where like you don't have to scan it. It is like really cool looking. I don't really know that much about it if you can't tell, but it seems really cool. I don't think Riley Link works with the Libre, but both work with Tandem. Both you have to really trust that your tandem number is reading correctly, which I've had a really good experience through using Dexcom the whole time. I feel like I rarely have like a super off number, and if I do, it's because there's something weird with my site and I just change it. Moving on. This one is my last point, and my sort of favorite point with the whole thing is both systems, this was true for me, so I'm gonna speak from my emotions, is both systems let me take a breather a little bit from diabetes. Obviously, you still have to carb count and put your like carbs in, but as far as like if I'm high, oh, do I need to take extra insulin, like what's going on, both of the systems kind of took care of that for me, which was really nice. I just made a post today, actually today's Tuesday, about how I could see all the little doses that the tandem Control I.Q was giving me, which was like really, really nice, and really just like, I didn't even realize it was giving me insulin, but it was great because I didn't have to stop and think, oh, should I take insulin? So both systems are really good in the end. I'm glad I used both. Obviously, this isn't like, go use one, go use the other. These are just my experiences with either. I think it's good to like try different technology and just see what's out there, because like it's good to have options. That's basically it for this video. I feel like it was maybe a little bit all over the place, hopefully not. But if you enjoyed it, don't forget to make sure that you are subscribed and you have your notifications on. And yeah, I upload every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific. So on that note, I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.